How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another platform tutorial. In this tutorial, we are going to be finishing up the game. We're going to be adding in our pause menu. We're going to be doing a few other things just to tie up the game with the win death event and layout. And then we are going to be adding some extra enemy spawns and finally the sound effects. So we have a lot to do, but I think we are ready to do it. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go and look at our timer object here. So we call this SF timer. So for sprite font timer, we're going to go, and what we want to do is we want to make this global. So let's double click and make this a global. So it's going to persist. And what we want to do is we want to go to our win death layout here, and we want to actually make a clone of it, kind of. So to do this, we're going to, let's see what we want to do here. We can actually just copy or clone the HUD coins here. I can move this up. I can move this over, and we can just call this SF timer stats and hit OK. Now that we did that, what we can do on the win death event is, just like we're setting the winner to SF winner 2, we can do the same thing for the stats. So we can set the stats, or we could do it the other way around. No, let's set the stats. We can set the stats text on the start of the layout to the SF timer dot text. And because we're doing this on the start of the layout, we are actually making it stop counting. So let's hit play and let's see what happens when we die. And let's see how this works here. We need to go to here, or we need to go to the game layout and hit play. Game layout, save, hit play. And let's just see what happens when I die. It's at 2 right now. 3, 4. Let's see. Come on, spikes. And one more. Death 11. Perfect. So then the only thing that we need to do is we need to make the text go away. And there's a few ways that we could do this. We could make it fade out, or we could just destroy that object on the win death layout, or at least we could try and destroy it. So let's go to our win death event here. Let's go to our SF timer and type in destroy, and let's have it destroy after it sets the text. So after it sets the text right there, and let's hit play and let's see what happens when we die. So now it's actually loaded from the start menu here, and it's loaded from my previous default settings with the gamepad. So let me load from the game layout so I can use WASD with no sound. And that's just because I'm loading it directly without going through the proper channels where it would actually include the music event. Oh, I forgot I'm supposed to be dying here. So that should be good. Let's see if I can just kind of take some more damage. And dead. 19, and it's gone. And when I hit restart, that is the next thing I have to do. I have to go to our win death layout. I have to get our restart button here. Our restart is 11. Let's go to our win death event here, and let's actually copy over from our menu manager, just anything, doesn't really matter, and paste, and we can get rid of all this stuff. And this is for 11. Let's just have it system go to layout, and let's have it go to the menu layout, and let's hit save. All right, so now we have it so our restart button will actually work. Let's put in the same code that we have in the menu manager to hover over. Let's just find that code real fast. Let's go to our hover menu, and we'll just copy this, and we'll paste this in here, and we'll get rid of this. And again, that was for sound. Because we have this object on here, we're going to want to call our sound here as well. So let's make a note, call sound, Control G. For a bookmark, just so I know to go back to it. Now when I play the win death layout here, if I go into that layout and hit play, I should be able to highlight these buttons, and I should be able to click that. Cool. All right, so now the only other thing that this win death layout might need, win death event might need, no, it does have the SFX manager, which means it has the music manager. So we're going to have to test that to make sure that the music will work for it. But we do have extra functionality in this. Okay, so one of the things that I forgot to mention before, but really it's just kind of a bonus thing, was that I was going to make it so the boss would spawn some enemies. And to do this, we were going to have it kind of be at random. It was just this kind of cool thing that we could do where the boss would pick where it wants to spawn enemies. And when it did, it would spawn it in between a few things here. So let's think about how I wanted to do this. We need to go to our game event. And in our game manager, we need to go to the boss AI. Let's go underneath. Actually, you know what? I think we put it in the boss direction where we have our on landed. Let's grab this and let's take this out. And let's put this in its own group. Let's hit control, or let's just hit G for our group. Let's call this our boss generation. And what this is going to do is it's going to just kind of spawn a few things. So I want to use the on landed, and I want to piggyback off of that by making a sub event here. And I want to say system repeat one time. And what I want to do here is I want to create an object. So the first object I want to create here is a spike. So I'm going to go system create object spike. Now the reason why I want to create the object instead of spawn it is because I can plug in the coordinates. Let's make sure that it's spawning in on the entities layer, or actually even better, we can make sure that it spawns on the spikes layer and hit OK. But what we need to do is we need to actually find where we want to spawn our spikes. So what's going to happen is every time the player or the enemy jumps, the boss, every time the boss jumps and lands, we want him to create objects up here. So one of the things that I didn't really do much of is really design this boss area too much. So you can kind of mess around with it. You can put platforms here just like you would normally. We already have some platforms, but we could put some coins in there so we can grab. Let me grab the coins which are on the pickups layer. Let's grab some coins. Maybe we'll put them up here. And let's just make sure that they're still on the pickups layer. Paste this again. Put this onto the pickups layer. Paste it again. And just that way you have more incentive to come up here. But then we also want to have some ceiling spikes. So let's grab these up here. Paste those down here. And to that point, what we might want to do, we need to make sure that this goes to the spikes layer, is we might want to get rid of these coins. And we'll put them, maybe we'll just have them, yeah, we'll just delete them. So then we can get rid of these coins as well, and these coins as well. So this should hopefully give us some kind of room to make something happen here. Maybe I'll just put these here, and I'll hit paste. I'll put those here, and I'll move this to the spikes layer again. Something like that. What happens if I snap it to the grid and then move it up? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then in between here, what I want to find out is, can I spawn between this position and this position? So let's look at these positions here. Position number 1, if you look in the bottom right corner over here where the mouse is saying, I'm going to try to get this right into this corner. It's at 19198634. So that's always going to, we want that to stay the same. We want it to always spawn on the same Y, and we might want the Y to be up here. So 1920 should be good. And then 855 will carry us to 2204. So let me write that down. I have a notebook right here. 1920 to 2204 at 855 was a good height. So what we want to do is we want to go back to our game manager here, and we want to create the object at a random X position. So let's actually put the Y to 855. Let's put the X to be integer random, because when it randomizes, it's going to be a float value, and I guess we could do it as that, but we want to kind of just leave it as integers. We want to put it between 1920 and 2204 and hit OK. And that should create that object in between that space. Now, what we can also do is we can say, instead of repeating, we can make another sub event underneath here. We can say system every X seconds, not every tick, every X seconds, int random, let's say 5 to 10 seconds. Then what we want to do here is maybe system repeat int random 1 to 2 times. Let's actually create an enemy. So let's control click this down and let's leave it at the same exact coordinates. Let's just change the entities or the layers to entities. Entities. And let's grab the enemy. So now when we land, we have a chance of always creating a spike and always create, or every 5 to 10 seconds, creating 1 to 2 enemies to fall from the sky. So let's test this out. Let's grab this and let's try not to die here. And let's see what happens. Looks like I'm going to die. Yep, I died. So let's restart. Let's go back. Except when I did that, my control scheme is set up to be that way. To the gamepad. Until I switch it, it's going to be the gamepad every single time I load it. Which I'm still, again, very happy about that. I prefer using the gamepad, oddly enough. It's more of a newer development, but I still like using the keyboard. It's just nice to have. Okay, I'm sick of dying in my own game. My God. Okay. For real this time. It's like I'm trying to talk just so I can compensate for just playing my own game. Okay, here we go. Not gonna die. We killed him. Run, 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 run. Jump. Slide. Yeah, that looks good. We kind of got stuck there. Kind of have to take some death there. Oh, man. All right. Boss battle time. Now, let's just see what happens when he jumps. So we should, there we go, see some things start to fall down. We see a spike falling down. Maybe we want to spawn more spikes. Instead of just one, we'll have it repeat a few times. But we really don't see any enemies yet. Let's see if enemies will come a little bit sooner now. It's been 5 to 10 seconds. Let's see. The reason why the enemies aren't coming, I already figured it out. It's because they're getting stuck in the tile map. So what we need to do is we need to go back here and we need to move this down. So let's actually look as to where we could put this. Maybe like 8, 8, 1. 881 should work. So let's try putting this at 881. And that should be good. We can also increase our spikes by repeating this a few more times. We could say, let's repeat it by 3 times. The only thing we don't want to do here is we want to make sure that it doesn't create them on top of each other, and therefore it would deal 3 damage and you thought it was only 1 spike. That's the only thing that we're trying to avoid with that. Of course there are other workarounds for it, but let's see if that'll take care of having multiple spikes and enemies. All right, cool. So there's our enemy. The spikes sure do look like they're only spawning. Oh, no, they are. Perfect. Okay, so win-win situation. Now we kind of have an even harder boss battle where we have to kind of manage the spikes that are falling, and we have to manage the actual player that is, I mean the enemy that is actually now attacking us in addition to the boss. Awesome. So now we have a little bit of an extra thing going on for our AI there. Let's finally start to build our pause menu. So to do this, let's go to our game layout. Let's go all the way back up here. And let's make a new layer. Let's put it underneath our HUD and let's call this pause. And on the pause layer, what we want to do is very simple. We want to grab our object background. So let's grab our sprites, which we never even called it anything. Let's call it our objects options. It's just kind of a panel, object panel maybe. Let's grab this and let's put this onto the pause menu if I didn't already. I thought I did. There it goes. So we're on the options, we're on the pause menu here. Let's actually make this bigger. Let's make this, we can actually get away with making this a lot bigger. Let's make this 320 or 176. No, that didn't work. Let's make it, that's the position I want it to be. I want it to be at 320 176, because that's going to be in a second from now in the center of, well, actually it would be, we're going to have to move that. Let's make it 256 pixels by 256 pixels and see how that looks. And let's just try to move this into the middle here. And I already don't really like it there. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Something like that, maybe. A little bit like that. That's better. For our pause menu, I want it to be big. Maybe it could be a little smaller, like above the boss bar, but let's see how that looks actually. What we need to do now is we need to grab our player, put this up here, and put this to the pause. Now on the pause layer, what we need to do is the same thing we've been doing for everything else. Set the scale rate to 0, set the parallax to 0, 0, and hit save. Cool. Okay, that does kind of look like a pause menu, but it's not perfectly centered here. We can kind of move it over a little bit so it maybe makes more sense. We can snap it to the grid. Over 1 or 2. Let's see if that's a little bit more centered. So that's better. Okay, so what we want to do here is let's actually go to our win death layout and let's copy this text. And let's paste that over here. And I'm just going to clone it from over here and then get it off of the screen. And the reason why I did that is just because I wanted to get all gold text here. Let's call this SF pause. And let's just call this pause. Let's put this on like so. Try to match it up there. Let's actually call this paused. Game is currently paused. And what we want to do is we want to put in 4 buttons. So let's grab our object menu box. And let's make sure we're putting it on the pause menu here. And let's control click, and control click. So let's put this there. No, we can put this here, 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 and here. So now what I want to do is I want to select all of these and move them over by 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And that looks pretty good. So let's hit save. And let's give these guys some IDs. Now, fortunately, since we already have the music being ID 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, so it's 3 and 4, we can actually just give these two 3 and 4. So let's give this the ID of 4. We're going to have to give this and this one different IDs because they're going to do different things. So I think the highest we went up to was 15. I could be mistaken, but I think that was the highest that we went up to. Let's see. On our menu, let's actually just look. That's 10. That's 6. Which is the gamepad? The gamepad is 9. The actual win death layout, 12, 13, 14, 15. And what was this one? 11. So we're going to make it 16 and 17. This will be 16. And this will be 17. And let's just copy our text. And let's actually scale this down to 1. Let's call this resume game. Copy our text. Let's call this mute SFX. Copy our text. Mute music. Oops. And copy our text back to menu. All right, let's put this in like this. We can actually, you know what, let's snap this there for all of them. Let's grab all of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. 41, 42, 43, 44, 45. Yeah, that looks good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so that is not the best way of doing it, but it looks centered enough for my needs right now. I just want to get this implemented. It doesn't matter what text it is. It just matters that they're all in the same layer and that they all have their separate IDs. So 16, 3, 4, and 17. So what we need to do is go to our paused event, and we need to set up our paused event just like we would set up anything else. What we want to do here is we want to go to our plugins, keyboard. We want to say on key pressed P. If the P key is pressed, we're going to hit Y on the keyboard to make this an OR statement. We're going to go plugins, gamepad, or the gamepad button pressed start menu. Then what we want to do here is we want to actually go to our menu layout, and we want to grab our pause manager, which should be right around here somewhere. If it's unlocked, here it is. Let's add in a paused Boolean. And I think we should be good besides that. So now that we have our paused Boolean, and this will not delete, this will be apparent for every single one, but the pause menu will only pop up on something that has a pause layer. What we want to do here is we want to find out if it's paused or not. So if the pause manager, Boolean instance variable set paused, then what we want to do here is we want to set the visible, layer visible, pause. We want to set pause to be visible, is what I was trying to say. What we want to do then is we're going to want to set the entire group. So if you remember, we have this broken up into paused and non-paused. We're going to want to set the entire pause group to disabled. So let's say paused, deactivated. And let's take this and hit else, so X, and let's actually make this activated. Let's make this back to invisible, and then let's set pause to true here because it's false. Set the value of, oops, let's go back, pause manager, set the Boolean of pause to true, and back up here let's set it to false. Okay, so that is that. Let's now add in the same thing that we just added into our win death event. So you can see how this is going to get a little redundant. We're going to add in the hover. Let's go to our paused event here and just paste it in there, and that should work fine. We have to add our sound, of course. But now we're ready to do our actual options. So we already have the one thing programmed, but I don't really want to bring in the whole menu event, so I'm just going to copy and paste the whole thing that I have for mute music and mute SFX. Copy this and paste it in, and we are done. Let's make sure that we don't have an options invisible. So what we want to do is just get rid of those. Otherwise it would just be kind of redundant, or it just wouldn't even work. So there's no point in having it there. Then what we want to do is we want to make sure that we go back to the menu. So let's actually do that. Let's copy and paste this guy. He's going to be value number 17. So we're going to go back to the menu here. And to do this, what we're going to do is we're just going to set the group paused to activated. Then we're going to set the layer pause to invisible. Then what we want to do is we want to set the value of the pause manager Boolean paused to false. Finally, we want to, let's think what else we want to do. This is actually going back to the main menu. So what we can do is we can go plugins, audio, stop all. We can immediately reset global variables, and then we can tell it to go system, go to the layout of menu layout. So this is going to get us back in case we wanted to remap our controls or something like that. Okay, we need to put one more check in here, and then we also need to do for 16. So let's do for 16 first, actually. Let's put this up here. ID 16 is going to just be to resume the game. And to resume the game, what we need to do here is we just need to say pause is invisible, activated is true, and paused equals false. We don't need any of that, and that should resume our game. So this should be resume, and this should be back to menu. Now we need to have some checks here because otherwise it'll get caught, and what'll happen is the menu will be invisible, but you'll still be able to click on it. So to fix that, we're going to say system visible, layer is visible, in this case layer pause. And we want to invert it. So if the layer pause is not visible, then what we want to do here is we want to set the options that we just made to, what's the word I'm looking for? Deactivated. And to do that, we are going to need to group together pretty much all of this stuff. The hover over stuff should be fine, but all of this needs to be grouped into pause options. Let's group all of this there. And that should have kind of selected all of them. There we go. Group it all there. And if the pause layer is not visible, then we're going to set the group active or deactivated of pause options. And we're going to set that to deactivated. I'm going to give this its own group. I'm going to call this mouse hover. And I'm going to say mouse hover will also be deactivated. Let's call this mouse hover. And let's hit else. So let's hit X on the keyboard, and we're just going to reactivate both of these. Okay, so let's test this out. Let's hope that it works. And the first thing we need to do here is we need to go to our game manager. We need to hit N, and we need to include our paused events. So let's hit save, and let's hit play. Let's go to our menu layout, and let's play from the beginning. Let's start the game, and it starts off pause. What happens when I hit P? So to fix that, I'm just going to go here, and I'm going to turn pause to true, and that should fix it. It should flip it over. Start the game. Interesting. Why did it start? Oh, I know why I did that. I was like, wait a second. What we need to do here on the start of the layout, which we don't have, system, actually, let's just do it on the game manager. Start of the layout. Let's make sure that the layer pause is invisible. Because once it is, everything else will take over. So start the game. We should be able to move the gamepad, hit P, and we bring that up. And I actually have copied and pasted the ones with the sine waves on it, which is pretty funny. I didn't mean to do that, but our mute music is working perfectly. Back to menu works. That did not work. So we have that to fix here. When we go back to the menu, let's see why that's happening. When we go back to the main menu, we want to make sure that we disable everything. But because I picked the one text that has the sine angles on them, let's get rid of these sine angles for this. No, we can't, because this is... let's just clone this, and let's delete this, and let's redo this a little bit. Let's just call this SF pause 2, and let's delete. Actually, I don't know if we can delete. Am I using SF pause for the win death layout here? I'm not. So I wonder what happens on the game layout if I just get rid of this, get rid of these behaviors without having to redo anything. Of course, it's annoying, but I wonder if that will... I think we're good to go. So let's go back here. Let's get rid of those behaviors. Or no, it's already gone. So let's hit save. Let's hope that those destroy. Those should kind of destroy here. So we hit P. That's not working. Let's go to our game. Let's go to our menu layout and hit P. Start the game. Hit P. Back to the menu. Start the game. And for some reason, those are not being hidden away, which is really confusing. Because they should be. They should all be on the pause layer. And they should all go away when we need them to. But if they don't, then what we can do is we can go to our paused events. And let's say, back to menu. Let's see what we're doing here. We're setting pause to false. Set layer pause invisible. Set group paused activated. Let's not reset global variables. Let's not stop the audio. Let's just go to the main menu because I realize we're already taking care of that. I don't know if that's going to fix anything here, but let's see what it does do. And we start the game, we hit pause, mute the music, go back, start the game. And for some reason, it brings that back up. I don't know why. All right, give me 1 second and I'll be right back after I figure this out. Okay, so that was a little confusing, but I fixed it, and I didn't realize what was going on. When I brought over that text, when I cloned it or whatever I did to it, it brought over some weird property to it that just didn't work. I don't know if it was global or what it was. I wasn't paying attention to it. So I made a new sprite font, and now it's working fine. But the other thing I had to change here was the pause manager. I needed to put the pause manager on here, and I needed to turn the global off. It did not need to be global if we had this on both, because this will automatically detect full screen, and we only needed it to detect full screen on the menu layout. I didn't need it to carry over. So make sure you turn the pause manager off, but you should still have it on the menu layout and the game layout. And there we go. So let's hit play and let's see this work here. And then I've got one more cool thing to add to the pause menu after this. So if I hit P, you can see it is paused. I didn't really center these guys, but that's okay. If I mute the music, it'll work. It's just I started it from the game. So if I go back, start the game, now we don't have that error at all. If I hit P, I can mute the music nicely. I can hit it again to unmute, and the same thing will happen for this. I can resume the game. I can hit P. I can go back to the menu. So now that the pause menu is pretty much working, I realized that I put this guy, he's clearly not on the HUD layer, or something isn't working with the HUD layer that messed up, or what. I'm not sure what's going on with our timer here. Let's see if it was just too up high. So let's move this over. Okay, so now we have our pause menu integrated. Let's add in one final thing here, and you can actually see me do this, where I'm just going to, let's actually clone this type. Let's clone this type here. I guess when I clone it, it gets to be that size. Let's call this pause controller. And what I want to do here is I want to make this 1. And I want to move this over a little bit here. What I want to do is I want to go to the game manager here in the player controller. I want to set the text for the controller thing that we just did. Set the text to controller. Let's do controller : WASD. Let's go over here. Controller : arrow keys. And then controller : gamepad. So now when you pick your input, it'll be able to tell you on the pause menu when you hit P or when you hit start. You'll also be able to go back, and let's make sure that we add that to, this should be added to the pause layer, and it should be invisible when that's invisible. Should not be visible at all right now. Pause. I'm using controller WASD, and to make that a little bit bigger here, I'm just going to kind of stretch that out a little bit, and there we go. So now we've done a whole lot, and we have the final thing to do here, which is just to put the sound effects in. So let's do that, and let's finish up with our projects. Let's hit save, let's hit play, let's test this out. Let's hit P. There we go. We're using WASD, but if I go back and I go controls, and I switch to arrow keys, and I hit start, and I hit P, I'm using the arrow keys. And if I go back, I controls, gamepad, start, I'm using the gamepad. So there we go. Let's switch it to WASD, and let's exit out. Okay. So what we need to do is add in our sounds, and I got around to finally adding that into our assets folder. So let's go to our sounds folder here, and let's add some subfolders. Let's call this our boss. Let's add another subfolder for our enemy. And this is just an extra organization thing that you can do if you have the personal version of Construct 2. So I recommend doing it because it'll keep your sounds in order. Otherwise, if you don't, you can just put them all right into the sounds folder. and the player. So let's right click, import sounds to the boss. Let's go to, let me navigate to the assets folder here. Give me 1 second. Where did I put the assets folder? They're here somewhere. Oh, I know I put them here. Here they are. So now I got rid of the purchase folder and I have the sounds folder. That's the tile map sounds folder. I'm going to grab all of the boss sounds and hit open and import and hit OK. Then I'm going to go to the enemy sounds. I'm going to hit import. I'm going to go sounds. Let's go to the enemy. There's only one. Import and hit OK. Then I'm going to go to the level. Import sounds. Go level. Collect all of these guys. Open. Import and hit OK. Go to the menu. There should only be one menu sound whatsoever. Hit OK. And finally our player. Import sounds, sounds, player, just like this. Select this, hit import, and hit OK. All right, so we are ready to go do our SFX manager. And here's how we're going to do this. We're going to make everything into a function. Okay, so with functions, what we're going to do is we're going to add the event to our music manager here. Just like we did for our music manager, we're going to say is boolean room SFX not true. So we're going to hit I. And now what we're going to do is we're going to put everything into a function. This way I can easily replace the sounds if I need to. So to do this, what we're going to do is we're going to say plugins function on function. Let's start with the menu sound. We're going to say hover sound. And let's hit B. We're going to always trigger our sounds once for the most part. It's just going to be 1,000 times easier in the long run. Play the audio of... Now, generally, I don't like to do it this way. I like to actually pick and type it out, but I think it'll just be a lot easier to just do it this way for right now. But if you did want to have, some kind of way to choose between different sources, you could just type out the audio and do a choose function. All right, so let's hit OK here. I forget what the tag was that I used. So let's go over here and let's look. Game SFX. This is going to have the game SFX tag. And hit OK. Then I actually want to make one more version of the exact same sound, because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be triggering this sound a whole lot. So I'm going to call this the hover menu sound. It's going to be the exact same thing, but this way we just have two versions that we can call. And we're going to call this our menu. And we're going to put this into our menu. And I should be able to move this into there. That shouldn't be a problem. I'm going to copy this, hit paste. And I'm going to make my player sounds. Let's just make all the sounds first, and then we are going to implement them. This is going to be the player hurt sound. Let's put in the player hurt 1. And let's go for player hurt 2 sound. This will be for player hurt 2. Just kind of gave us some extra options here to play with. Then for our jump sound, we can just call this player jump sound. We can say player jump, copy and paste this. Let's go for our player wall jump sound. Gonna go to our wall jump and hit OK. Copy and paste player wall slide sound. Play the wall slide sound and hit OK. And I think we are done for our players. Let's group all this, call this our player. And let's put this into the player group just like so, if it'll let me. All right, and let's just make sure that all of this is underneath this. Otherwise, this is not going to work. So we have our player. Let's make another one. Let's actually paste this in where we're going to do our enemy. We want to say on enemy death sound, play enemy death. What did I call it? Do you see it? Enemy death. There we go. That is pretty much the only one we need for the enemy, I believe. So let's group this together, call this enemy, and put this in there for our enemy. Then what we want to do is our boss and our level. So let's add in stuff for our boss here. Let's hit B, let's hit paste, except I don't have anything to copy, so let's copy this and hit paste. Delete those guys. What we want to do next is our, let's do our boss, let's say boss hurt sound. Actually, boss hurt underscore sound should be good. Let's find our boss hurt sound, which is, did I include it here? Maybe I forgot it. Oh no. The boss hurt sound is, oh no, it's the boss shake. That's what it is. Oddly enough, the boss hurt sound is the boss shake. Let's call our explosion sound for when we win the game. Oops, and insert. Explosion sound. Explosion, 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 explosion. Boss explosion, hit OK. Let's do our boss jump sound. Play boss jump. And finally, let's do our boss land sound or flash sound, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, let's call this our boss flash sound. When we're flashing, we're going to play the boss flash. Okay, so that's our boss. Let's group this together, call this boss. And what we're going to do is we're going to put in our final piece here, which is going to be our level. So let's do our level. Let's do our coin sound for when we pick up our coins. Let's say play the sound, coin, 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 pick up coin, hit OK. Copy and paste this. This is going to be for our orb. When we collide with our orb, play our orb sound, orb collect. Copy and paste. This will be for our health when we pick up some health. Health sound will be the actual health pickup. Now let's copy and paste. This will be the spike sound. And copy and paste another one for the text sound. And the final one is the shake sound. And now let's actually replace these. So spike sound will be for the spike fall. The text sound will be the scrolling text. And the shake sound will be the screen shake. All right, that is our sound event. Let's group all this together for our level. And now we should be able to play, mute, and call these functions as we please. So let's go back to our game manager and let's start to add them in. So let's go in order here. Let's start with our player control. I believe we have our player jump sound. So what we want to do for that is we want to just say if player is jumping, plugins function, call function, player jump sound. I believe that's what I called it. Let me double check. Go to our player underscore jump underscore sound, because I mess around with underscores a whole lot. Okay, play underscore jump sound. Now let's see what happens when I play the game. Actually, I have to go back to the main menu. Yeah, we got sound. Cool. For some reason, the this guy keeps getting a little off track here, so we can just move that down somewhat. Let's hit play. Let's see how that looks. There it goes. What might be happening is we're not, oh, you know what it is? We're not recreating it. So let's actually, I know, that's why. Let's make sure that on the game manager, we create at the start of the layout, system, create object, blah, 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 SF timer. On layer HUD, what X position and Y position? That's a good question. 288 and 0. And that should hopefully fix it. And then on the menu layouts, menu manager, on the start of the layout, it should destroy SF timer. SF timer should be no longer, just like we destroy SF winner. and we'll recreate it. Okay, so that should fix that problem. What we want to do now is add in our sounds. Let's keep going. So we're going to go in order here. Let's add in our XML dialogue sound. This will be a good sound to have for when we are actually scrolling. So I remember we were setting it up, but we didn't really have the implementation for it. Let's do that. So our sign dialogue all the way down here. All the way down here. Let's see, it's going to be inside here and right here where we're repeating it one time and we're finding out if the length of the destination text is not equal to 0. Then what we're going to do is we're going to plugins, function, call function. What did I call it? Text sound. Okay, so that should work for that. Let's keep going. Let's add in the spike sounds. Let's go back up here. Let's go all the way up to the spike. And let's do our power up as well. Let's say on collision with power up, we are going to play plugin audio. No, we're going to say function, call function, power up sound. Is that what I called it? Now I'm having trouble remembering all these names. It's the level. It is called the orb sound. That's what it was called. Orb sound. Let's play the wall jump and the wall slide at the appropriate time here. That's very important. Let's see where we want to play that. We want to trigger it once when we have a wall to the right or to the left. So let's say trigger once, plugins, function. I'm going to forget in a second. Player, wall jump, sound, maybe. I think that's it. Player wall jump sound. Copy all of this and paste this here. Get rid of that. All right, and let's go for the wall slide sound. Let's just copy this function here. Wall slide when we are triggering once. This is where we're going to say player wall slide. Save that. And let's keep going. So when let's think what else we need. Our arrow collision should play the player hurt sound. So let's go down to our spikes and collision here. How do we want to do this for our spikes? Well, if it collides with the tile map, then do that. If it collides with the player, then we're going to call that sound. So let's hit play. Let's paste that there. Let's call player. We can either call the player hurt sound or I think we have to call the player hurt sound, which is the Where's the player hurt sound? The player hurt sound is, we got two. Let's just call player hurt sound. Go back to the SFX manager and let's actually call the this right here. If the bullet distance is traveled is greater than 50, that's when we are going to call the, I believe that's where we're going to call the spike fall sound. And that's a really important sound. It adds a whole lot to just feeling like you're there. Maybe we can call this, yeah, let's call it there. And what did I call it? The spike sound? Yes, I did. So let's call the spike sound right here. Let's go plugins, function, call function, spike sound, and hit OK. Save. Spike death sound. Did I have a death sound for it? I think we could just call the spike sound again down there. Okay. Screen shake. We don't need any sounds there. Arrows. Let's call some sounds for the arrows. What do we want to call? Let's call the player hurt sound, which I can just copy from up here. Let's call player hurt 2 sound, actually. I think that'll be better. And let's call... No, I think that's good. I think we are good there. For the coin, let's call the coin sound. And let's just call this coin sound. We already got our sign for our enemy AI. I think we are good other than when we jump on its head and it dies. Let's call the... What is it called? Let's go plugins, function, call function. I believe it's called the player... No. Enemy death sound. I believe that's what it's called. Enemy underscore death sound. Of course. Enemy underscore death sound. So try to keep consistency, because clearly that is something that I probably should have done, as it is a lot more helpful. Let's see. Player takes damage, player hurt sound. Let's play the player hurt sound by going all the way up, grabbing the player hurt 2 sound, all the way down. Player 2 hurt sound. Let's just play the player hurt sound. Player takes damage, player hurt sound. Oh, so that doesn't go there. We already playing the enemy death sound. Player hurt sound would go there. Health pickup. Let's play the health pickup sound. And since we have the trigger once, we don't need to put it there. It's going to be called health sound, maybe. Let's go to our SFX manager and find out. It is. Okay, so we are getting there. The last thing we need to do is our trigger sounds. Oh boy. Okay. So the final piece to this puzzle is having the correct sounds here. We want to call our shake sound right here. So let's do this. Let's just copy this sound here. Let's paste it here. Move it up here. And let's call the shake sound, followed by, at the very end, let's call another shake sound, followed by another shake sound. Right before we set the room to 3. Let's do this. Let's actually set this to trigger once, set the room to 3, and then let's call the shake sound first. Okay, if there's anything else I'm forgetting, I'm sure we will notice, but I think we have finished our game. It was a whole lot of work. We ended up with 286 events. Wow. 11 layers, 3 different layouts. I believe everything works perfectly fine. Let's hope so. Let's go to our menu layout. Let's hit play and let's test it out. So I can't hear. I don't think it's actually working on the main menu here, the hover sound. Oh, that's because I didn't do any of those sounds. It's like, wait a second, why isn't that working? Let's go to our hover menu here, and let's figure out how we're going to do this. Let's say right here, plugins, audio, play, hover sound. Where's hover sound? Oh, I know it's here somewhere. Am I blind? Going blind, that's the health pickup. Where is it? Menu button, there it is. Oh man. Let's play the menu button sound there, not visible. Let's play the menu button sound there, and we should be good. On the paused event, let's play the menu sound button on a trigger once in a sub event there. And now I think we are finito. Maybe. Maybe not. All right, let's go back. Maybe if it's just that. And for the win death layout, we're going to have to do the same thing. Just play the sound. Although I think this, I really do feel like it's a trigger once sound, but maybe it's not. Sounds like a telephone ring. What we want to do here is, oh, we're playing the sound. Why am I playing the sound? Oh man, that's how you can tell I'm losing it. We just need to call the function, which will do everything else for us. Oh, of course. Did I do that there too? I did. Oh my god. All right, let's try this again. Plugins, function, call function. Menu sound, maybe that's what I called it. Most likely. No. Text sound, shake sound. Where is the menu sound? Menu. Menu. Hover sound, hover menu sound. Oh, that's right. Okay. That is right. I even said that in the beginning. We're going to call the plugins function hover sound. And what we're going to do there is we're going to copy the hover sound and we're going to put it into the win death here. Call the hover sound, call the hover sound. Go to our here, let's call the hover sound here and here, and let's see how that does. I'm not sure if we needed a secondary one or not. There we go. So we are actually muting our SFX. You can't hear anything, but when we actually unmute it, you can hear some. I think we need better collision sound for the arrows. Alright. I think you get the point of this. I know for a fact that sometimes it doesn't show up the on death screen on my screen, but we've added in the sound. There's probably maybe more sounds that I could have added in, and in the demo version that I have, I've gone a little bit more into adding the sounds, but that is the basics of adding the sounds, making the game, everything. We've done so much stuff. I'm sure you're burnt out. So really, I think this is a good place to end it. I think you can take it from here. I have really held your hand enough, and I really do look forward to seeing what it is you come up with, what you can make, what kind of spins you can put on a very simple game like this, and how you can make it fun for everybody. Really, truly, thank you so much for watching this video series. I know that I talked forever. I know that these videos were super long, and maybe they were super boring, and maybe you didn't make it through all of them. If you did, thank you. If you just skipped through, thank you. It really means a lot to me that you would just at least watch these videos and think, wow, okay, it's a cool game. Maybe I do want to learn how to make this kind of stuff. So really, I appreciate it. Again, my name is Jeremy Alexander, Jerementor on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.